Hey, it's Noelle Bloom here, and welcome to Bloom TV. You're in the right place if you want to create a business that makes a difference and live a fabulous life. Have you ever experienced a tragic event in your life that prevented you from moving forward? If so, you're going to love today's episode because it's all about how you can overcome that trauma and thrive. Today, I have a very special guest with me who's going to share how she's been able to overcome not one, but two near-death life experiences. Her name is Cydney Mar. She's a fashion designer, former elite athlete, product development strategist, and wellness enthusiast. Cydney has a flair for reinvention, and she believes that your life lessons can support your next steps, no matter your challenge. I can't wait for you to hear her inspiring story. So let's dive in. So Cydney, thank you so much for joining me today on Bloom TV. And I've been really looking forward to this conversation because I know so many of us struggle with an event or maybe something tragic that's happened in our life. And a lot of times we're not sure how we're going to move forward. So I think today you can share your story and how you were able to pick back up and keep moving forward despite the challenges that you face. So I'd love to get started by just asking you, when was your first near-death experience?
Okay. Well, it was a long time ago, but it certainly was tragic, and it's an anniversary which I actually celebrate as kind of a change in my life because it was so dramatic. I was 18 years old. I was a national level competitive figure skater. I was going international that year. I probably was going to win the Canadian Championship and then carry on and go, further into not only international, but the Olympics. So I was skating and a young man unfortunately skated into me and he almost severed my leg. And when you build all of your hopes and dreams, and I think this is what we need to speak to about, facing really dramatic life changes when you put all of your dreams and, we've just had, the Easter weekend and we talk about, putting all your eggs in one basket, but that's what we do when we have our passions and we're following our dreams. And that's really what I wanted to do, was to be a figure skater until the end of time. I had my eye not only on the championships, but as an expressive, creative performer. And I wanted to bring different types of performances to life. And I still think that walking is a strange and a natural act. To have something that was really in my heart, what I wanted to do, taken away from me, it was devastating.
Wow. So after that event happened, what happened after that? So you had that experience.
Yes. Well, I was pretty lucky. I did have to make a change, of course. My coach saved my life. And he must have been divinely inspired in some way to teach us as a team not to be just competitive figure skaters, but he taught us an approach to accomplishing things. So I was able to move and take with me my life lessons and apply them to what was next. And what was really interesting, and I couldn't understand it at all because I had done my skating costumes and all of that. So for me, it was very natural. I was very creative, sewed all my costumes as well as my own outfits. So I went into design. So I really, really loved it. And it was a way to put my rather energetic self to keep myself busy as well. So I went to fashion school. But what was interesting is that I really took off right away. I won awards in New York, and I went to have my things all, on the red carpet. My things were hanging beside Giorgio Armani and Ralph Lauren and Yves Saint Laurent, and it was really exciting. But I couldn't understand what was it that happened that made me take off so fast, because I thought, gosh, I was 12 years in skating and it took me 12 years to get it together.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that when drastic change happens, that we still have all of our life lessons. We start from where we're at, and it's not like we start back at, say, 6 years old. So was really, I realized that it was a jumping point, a launching pad for me to actually accelerate my next career. And instead of saying, oh, I've lost my skating and I'm going to stop, that's it, it's over, I took all of my energies and I transformed it with my approach, which was, I thought, okay, why do I skate? I skated because I wanted to express beauty. And in fashion, I wanted to also express beauty, but in garments that people could feel beautiful in and make them, just feel gorgeous and have a better day.
I love that. So after your skating career was over, did you know right then and there after you got injured or you got hurt, did you know it was completely over? Or was there any hope that maybe you can get better?
I absolutely thought I was going back on the ice. And I trained for a year and a half, not only because I had operations to reconstruct my leg, but in the therapy and the way that I was nourishing myself to make sure that I was going to be fit as a fiddle. I didn't want to be even 1 pound heavier than my competitive weight, so that I knew when I hit the ice that I would be able to go straight back into the competitions. And it was probably a good thing that my recovery took so long, because I think it does take time to process it. But in the meantime, I was studying fashion, and I didn't realize that I was going to have to say goodbye to my career.
Yeah. So when you were in that transition and you were healing and you were studying fashion, did you know then that you were building that foundation as you were thinking maybe you were going to go back to skating?
No, I did not. I was just, you tell an overactive 18-year-old to sit there and do nothing. It wasn't very successful.
Yes.
So yeah, I just applied myself and I just continued creating beautiful things. But I think because my parents were very spiritual, I did spend a certain amount of time in prayer and journaling and thinking about what was I doing and processing how I felt, but still working towards creating beautiful things. And it ended up being an absolutely fabulous career. I spent 36 years in fashion, being an international fashion designer and selling my fashions in 8 countries around the world. I specialized in QVC. So it was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love to hear how just the transition that you made, I know it was back then difficult to process everything, but yet you still found a way to take those life lessons and apply them to something new.
Well, I think that, when I think about that, and what I'd like to encourage people to think about if they've maybe had a challenge or they're facing, a potential shift in their life, and it's scary, it's a super scary place to be, but is to really get grounded and to realize that you're not starting at zero, that you already know how to, like, even if it's something as simple, or you already know how to run a household. Maybe it's someone who's going through a divorce. Maybe it's someone who's thinking, how am I going to, pick up a hammer and nail, because maybe I'm not going to have, that support to, the guy in my life who was hammering things, all of those things, and learn that you're capable and to be able to trust yourself. So I think that's what happened, is sort of step by step through the process of my recovery, I started to trust myself. I was making beautiful things. I realized there was another life. And that's the encouragement helps. And I think to stop and to celebrate your beautiful things, beautiful things that happen. Like I had girlfriends coming to me, Cydney, can you help me with my wedding dress? And it's really exciting to see someone walk down the aisle in something you've created. And so I realized there was a life after skating. And that's how I think that I was able to put it together.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I think it is important to note that when something tragic happens and you feel like you've been knocked over and you're on the ground, and just kind of thinking about getting up, standing up and moving forward can feel like challenging. And when you do have that mindset that, oh, everything's done, I have to start completely over. But the fact that you mentioned that you don't start over, there's lessons that you've learned, you have skills and passions, and when you are passionate about something, and how when you were designing your what you were skating in, and so that followed you right through the trajectory of everything, and you were able to not, you were able to pick yourself back up and move forward. I wouldn't say gracefully, because I'm sure it was very traumatic, but it didn't feel like it was the end. As you were getting better, you started studying and getting into fashion and keeping busy to, so you don't sink down in that space and just discourage.
Exactly. And I think that also, Noelle, I think it's really important to, because it did take me a year and a half to get better, I had my grieving time. So it's not as if we shouldn't, we can't, don't push the grief down. It's almost like you have to face it. And it's funny, I was recounting this story the other day because many of my friends were tiptoeing around me saying, oh, it's going to be fine. You're going to be on the ice soon and all of that. And there was a young boy in our team. He was very precocious and he was a brilliant skater. He's about 3 or 4 years younger than me. His name was Dennis Coy, and he's the only one who had the guts to say to me one day, he said, Cyd, get over it. You are never going to compete again. And it was so shocking to me. I cried. I was angry with him, but he actually did me a favor because he kind of like pushed me through the door and said, it's time.
It's time to get going and move on. Get the dream out of your mind and move forward. And I think when a tragic event strikes, of course, friends and people around you want to be so supportive, and there's a place for that. But when it's something tragic and so you don't, like I said, sink in that place and stay there and don't move forward, it's always nice to have that person in your life who will say, it snap back in reality. You still have a life to live. There's still a chance for you to go out there and do something else. But just hearing that, it kind of just made me feel a little, I can see how you felt devastated because you've been doing this for 12 years. You were doing it for 12 years. And to hear someone just blatantly say, forget it, just move on, that must have been difficult.
Yeah, it was really hard, but it was a gift because he was the only one who had the guts to tell me that it was over and that, I needed to be forward thinking. And he didn't even, there was no softening of it. He didn't say you can do something else. It was just like, Cyd, he needed to kind of like take me by the shoulders and shake me. And and it was, as I said, that was even more traumatic, but it was really great because then I was able to let go.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. And so as you moved forward, you were in your fashion career, and can you let us know what happened at that state of your life that again, for the second time, changed the trajectory of things and caused you to then transition into something else? So how did that play out? And can you tell us what happened?
Yes, I was traveling all over the world. I had a fashion design studio here in Montreal, and I was on QVC in Germany and Italy and the UK, and I got sick. I thought, I was a very healthy person, and I know I looked really healthy, and I was always that person who had more energy than anybody, and somehow I felt like, I think I have a flu. But that flu wasn't a flu, it was mono. And because I was older, I was 54 at the time, 54 going on 55, and it crashed my immune system. And I ended up in the hospital and fighting for my life. And they had to actually operate to clean out the infection that my body couldn't stop because the mono crashed my immune system. So I was in the hospital for 2 months and hoping that my company would survive, hoping that I would survive. And luckily enough, I did survive, but it was, I just surrendered. I just remember when they're taking me into the OR, and I said, like, if I survive, in fact, you're going to laugh, and all of the listeners will probably have a good chuckle because, I was quite delirious. And when they kind of have to wake you up to make you sign the waiver papers before they'll take you into OR. So I guess they woke me up so much, and I kind of stopped. I looked at the doctor and said, listen, doctor, this tummy is bikini ready. Yeah. So don't go cutting it up like a pumpkin because I don't want to have one more thing to deal with if I survive. And then I passed out.
And that was it, right? Just let them know.
That's right. And I don't recall the conversation, but he did say that he had come back to the recovery room after, and he said, Cydney, I did what you asked me to. You have one pinhole here and one pinhole here. That's it. So, like, you're ready to go.
So, okay, so at that time when you were in the hospital, I don't remember if it was your recovery time or if it was after the surgery or before when you were sick, but you were actually doing business inside of the hospital, weren't you?
Yes, yes. Actually, I was supposed to launch QVC Italia at the end of October, and I couldn't go, and they had just really punctured my lungs, and the doctors were like, you cannot get on a plane, because I had been so sick that I got hospital-acquired pneumonia, and they had to drain my lungs. So basically, they had to like siphon it out of my back. It was terrible. Anyway, so there was no getting on a plane, and they wouldn't let me off the hook. They said, oh, no. You have to launch. It's a big launch. We've got the goods. And, because my team had shipped it. And so I had to talk to the hospital administrators, and my friend who was staying with me had brought my computer to the hospital, and she also helped me get set up with the administrators, because we needed a landline. They wouldn't let us do it on mobile because they were afraid the line would drop. And I had to introduce, talk to the translators and the show hosts and all of that, and introduce the show. It was a sellout show, so I opened QVC Italia from my hospital bed in my little green jammies.
Wow. Okay. So you're in there working, and how did you actually get better? So, what was that transition after that event?
Well, they finally let me out of the hospital 2 months later. And so I was very weak, and I had shows to do. And so my good friend who, actually my best friend, traveled with me on my first trip, because I was so weak I couldn't even carry the cases, because the cases are each about 50 pounds each, and I couldn't lift them up. And so I think we went to, we did the three countries. We did Germany, England, and Italy together. So as I was getting better, because my body had such an inflammation, I had lost a lot of hair. So, but because I was an elite athlete before, I did know a lot about vitamins and supplements and how to nourish myself and how to really get the most out of what I was consuming and eating and drinking. So I kind of put myself back into training to get better, so that I could walk, so that I could talk. And it was really a challenge, but I went back to, my naturopaths and started talking to them about what I really needed to super boost my health.
And so as you were getting better and developing this keen sense for your health and wellness, does that have any connection to you as a figure skater? Because in the beginning you were saying how you had that, your coach was teaching you life lessons, and that there's life beyond skating. And so with that, you took from your skating accident, the life lessons you took into the fashion, and then now here's your fashion, and then you got sick, and then from there you're taking was that health and wellness that circled back to skating? How does that relate?
Well, I think that it must be in my DNA to go, now that I'm in the wellness area. It's very interesting, because my grandmother was First Nations, and my grandfather was a medical herbalist before he came to Canada from China. And so, there were a lot of things in my family about, how to eat and all of that. But in skating, I guess because I was a hyper kid, when I was 13 years old, my mom, and she was a businesswoman, dragged me off to the doctor and said, give her something. She wanted him to give me drugs because I was making her nuts. And I'm sure that all 13-year-old daughters make their moms nuts, whether or not they're working or what have you. But the fact is, I was making her crazy. And my doctor, God bless him, said, Mrs. Mar, no, I will not give her drugs, but this is probably a really good time for her and your family to start understanding more about supplements. She's turning 13. Let's get her onto a really good quality calcium, magnesium. She needs it for her bones. And he started teaching me about how, actually, what's interesting is calcium, if you have enough of it, not only is it great for your bones and your muscles, but if you have enough, it coats the ends of your nerves. So it actually calms you down. So that's why sometimes they say a glass of milk, it will calm you down. But if you have enough, it's sort of like if you and I were in a noisy place and we were having jittery nerves, maybe we don't have enough calcium. So he wanted to encourage me to take enough calcium so that I would calm down and stop making my mom nuts.
Wow. Well,
So,
what's the solution?
yeah. Well, there's natural solutions. I mean, the body is really designed to heal itself. It's really meant to be a perfect machine in terms of all of the ways it works. And sometimes, we just need herbals and proper nutrition to help keep us on track.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. So what things have you been doing in the wellness industry after your sickness? Did you stop fashion and completely do a 360, or how did that, how did that move forward? How'd you move forward?
Well, what I did, Noelle, was I decided that, perhaps I had been working too much. I was traveling about 150,000 miles a year. I was away 2 weeks of each month. And so I started winding down my fashion studio. And because one of the tragic things that happened after my illness, and I was doing all of these live TV shows, I had lost almost all of my hair. And there is no woman out there who wants to lose their hair. And I went, barreling off to the hair doctor, and he wanted to put me on Rogaine, which, can be pretty hard on the body. It's a very well-known pharmaceutical, but I didn't want to take more medications or heavy-duty ones that were going to be hard on my kidneys and the rest of my body, and not really know if it was going to be sustainable. And my naturopath sort of felt sorry for me. And he said, Cydney, let's try to see if we can do something powerful but natural. And he created a formula which was the basis of my company first product, which is called Fabulous Hair, Skin and Nails. It's based on a protein, which is quite different. And within 2 months, my hair started growing like crazy. I turned into like a human chia pet. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. Every woman, every person who's facing hair loss, and wants to do it naturally, this is it. And, as you were asking me before when we were chatting, I'm 59 going on 60. I've got this glorious mop of hair. I never have to worry about, is it, in good condition. My hair is in fabulous condition, and it really has to do with this vitamin. But I also then went back and worked with the manufacturer. I worked with my naturopath, and I said, when I went to the manufacturer, I was sort of like, hi, I'm going to be your new best friend, and I just wanted to be able to help people feel good again, because we all have gifts. We all have, something, either our families, our children, our work, or what have you, to chase after. And we want to feel well. And when we feel well, we can get out and about.
Oh, I love that. And I remember you showing me the picture from before and after, and it was like a huge difference. I was so shocked to see how healthy it was and how long it was and just how vibrant you looked. So at this time, did you stop doing, did you stop traveling around the world and really, no, so you were doing that and both at the same time?
Yes. While I was winding down the company and completing my contracts with the TV stations, I was building Cydney Mar Wellness. And so that was really the transition. And that's what I would also encourage a lot of people. I mean, it takes time. I mean, whether or not you're changing careers, whether or not, you have to take time to build one into the other. And by the time that I had closed the doors of my design studio, I was able to launch my Cydney Mar Wellness. And so I've done it, step by step. I've been featured in some fabulous spas, which is very exciting. I've got some celebrity hairdressers who are featuring my products as well. And I just really, I've got some actresses. I wish they would confess, quite frankly. But that's okay. I know that they're feeling good, and I'm being able to offer these beautiful nutraceuticals to help people get well naturally. I mean, beauty it's natural. And if we can just support ourselves, I mean, we just don't we're living extraordinary lives. And we have unfortunately, more toxic conditions. We have more pollutants. And so sometimes we need to our body needs a little bit more. And a carrot is not a carrot today, even if, so sometimes we need a little extra help.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And so I want to actually take it back a little bit because I'm noticing something interesting. At the beginning of our conversation, you, after your skating accident, you were asking yourself, how did, me launching into the fashion industry, how did that become a success so fast? Or how did you kind of gain that momentum? And for your wellness business, and you talked about building that foundation, right? How it just wasn't a really quick transition, but as you were, closing things down, that you were building the foundation. How was your success with the wellness? Was it equivalent to you kind of launching into the fashion industry? Did you have that same feeling like, wow, I didn't start over, how we were talking about that? And so when you launched into the wellness, you took that life lesson with you, right? And understood that those passions, those skills, and that same lust for life, you had it. And did it feel like your success was rather quickly because you were building that foundation and had that life lesson?
Absolutely. Well, for instance, if I were to describe what did I bring forward with me from fashion into the wellness, is I'm a very good what's called a merchandiser. I'm very good at how to put things together. So when you walk into a store and you say, oh, look at that, we don't say in our heads, oh, look at that group over there, but there might be a safari group and it might have a theme, and there's the top and the bottom, and there's a beautiful dress and scarf that goes together with it. So maybe you're only going to take the scarf today, but then you're going to go back and pick up a few other pieces. Well, when I was building my collection of wellness vitamins and supplements, I was also thinking about, like, how does it visually impact? I wanted them also to be happy. I wanted people to be encouraged, because also when I was sick, and every time I had to go to the pharmacy and get my medications, and they have these little ugly brown bottles or what have you. And I thought, and it used to make me angry, almost pissed me off. Like, this thing reminding me of being sick. So when I was thinking about, creating my collection in wellness, I also wanted them to be pretty. It kind of like the way I made things pretty in fashion. And I wanted the names to be kind of the claim. So Fabulous Hair, Skin, and Nails is really a pretty looking bottle. So you don't look at it and think, oh, hi, I'm the vitamin you take because you have no hair. I didn't want it to be that way. And, because I'm an older lady, I have done my menopause. So when I was creating my vitamin for ladies who are going through menopause, I thought, okay, if I had a guy in my house and he opened up my cupboard, I don't want him to look in and say, hi, I'm your menopause vitamins. It's like, I have the sweats, or hot flashes. So my vitamin is called, it happens to have a red lotus flower on it, because the lotus is part of my Chinese name. And it says, hot mama, cool down, because I said, yeah, I'm still a hot mama. So there's a lot of fun and charm to, the way it's put together, and they arrive like looking very pretty, like gifts to people. I put them in little organza bags with little messages in them, and it's fun. So that it should be something you open up your cupboard and say, yeah, those are my vitamins and they're healing me,
It actually makes you want to take it, right? And I love how you use the result as, hot mama, cool down. And it's super creative. I remember when you first told me, I was just like, I think I was just cracking up. It was so funny. And just, that's what people want, right? The result and how you creatively packaged it. I love it and think it's super creative. So for those people, so you've survived, right? You've survived.
Yes, I survived.
two death experiences that knocked you down. Although you didn't start from scratch each time, you had those life lessons and the passions and the skills, and you just kind of kept going and reinvented your career each and every time. So let's say someone's watching and they've experienced a tragic event, and for some reason they just can't seem to see the vision of how they're actually going to move past something. They're not sure how they can pick back up. They feel so devastated that they feel like what has ended has ended everything and they just don't know how to move forward. What's one word of advice, or maybe, you can expand on it? What's something that you would tell them to help them see that there's life beyond that event, and a little encouragement to keep going based off of your experience?
Well, part of, how I healed myself was also because I am very spiritual. I like having, conversations with my spirit guides and God, and, having a chat with, the powers that be. I do think it's important to find whatever is going to nourish you on a spiritual level, to feel grounded, because that's when the healing starts. Because if we take care of ourselves, if we're eating properly, if we're sleeping properly, we can heal, we can process. And I think this is really important. That's really foundational to getting better, and to be able to have your mind in a place where you can start piecing together the parts that you do want to bring forward, and identifying that didn't work. Let's not do that again. This part worked. Let's bring this forward, because we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And there's a lot of good things of what we've already done. And it does take some time and reflection to look back and say, you know what, I know I was on the right path, and this part was wrong, and let's let go of that. Let's take a moment, and, whether or not your process for letting go is to write a letter and to burn it, whether or not it means you need to do something like go to church, or whatever it is you need to do it. And take the time to heal yourself. Allow yourself the time. I think this is, if you're in better shape, you're going to be able to make good, sound decisions about finding what does make you happy.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that no matter what happens or how tragic an event can be, I'm a firm believer that we are designed and made and created to bounce back from pretty much anything. And no matter how difficult it may seem at the time or how challenging it is, like your coach is taught you, there's always something you can move forward with. There's life lessons that you can take. There's common threads that you learned along the way, and you can apply that to the next stage in your career, in your business, to keep going and to thrive. And I think you're such a beautiful example of how you've been able to do that, not once but twice, and move forward with so much grace and with so much passion, and being able to share that with other people and to inspire them that, hey, despite these things that have happened, me being on my deathbed and being, deadly sick, there's still something beyond that, and you can move forward by taking those lessons and applying them to something new. So thank you so much. So one thing, it's a little not really off topic, but you are in your 60th year, and many people are wondering how you don't look a day over 30. Is there, like, what can you give us a little secret or something that we can take with us, and some type of wisdom? I'd love to hear it.
Well, I think that there are really foundational ways of healing yourself and taking care of yourself. And the whole self-love, some people think, taking care of myself is selfish, but it is totally not true. And I think that, first put the idea that self-love is selfish. So I would love for people to take better care of themselves. And there are foundational steps. Actually, I'm offering something to my tribe, which is called Reboot Your Radiance. And if anybody's looking for it, it's easy to find on my Facebook pages or what have you. And it's really all about taking the time to be mindful, taking the time to nourish yourself well, to make healthy choices, whether learning about pH balances, learning to get your body moving, because there's a lot of processes. Go out and get fresh air, get some beautiful vitamin D from the sun, which is natural. There's so many ways of making sure that your energy is clear by shall we say, clearing your energy by having a shower at the end of the day, to make sure that, there's no negative energy that you're carrying, because, if you let it wash down the drain, you're going to make sure that you can sleep well at night, not have those worries stuck on you. And so there's, the foundational things of taking care of yourself that are so, so important. And getting a good night's sleep is when you heal. And I was thinking about the reason I built that, or put together that little, 7-day challenge for everyone, is because I of course, I love my vitamins and supplements, but they're not going to do anybody any good if they don't drink their water.
Yeah.
If they don't get a good night's sleep, let's drink our water.
Yeah.
But it's so true. And it's funny because I think we were talking the other day about how people, if they do exercise, if they're going to the gym, and, I can be sure, or you can be sure that someone's going to tell you they did this many reps at this weight and all of that. But you talk to your girlfriend or the next person, and they cannot tell you how many glasses of water they drank. And it's like, why not? Why can't, and it's so like, if before I die, I can just get people to drink water, I would be the happiest. So
That's
4 to 6,
right?
yeah, it's a great start. Sometimes I think we're human beings, not human beings, that we need sunshine and we need water, but 4 to 6 glasses of water a day, and my lemons are alkalinizing my water. But that would be my start number 1, because without water, you're going to be confused. You're not going to detox. It's good for your joints. It's good for your brain. It's good for your body, for, ladies who are going through their menopause. It's good for your body to regulate the body temperature. I mean, there's just so many great benefits.
So many benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Cydney, thank you so much for this insightful conversation with so much wisdom. I think that the things that you've shared are really going to help people. It's going to help ground them in knowing that if something tragic happens, they're able to move forward. And for those people who have not yet had a tragic, event, let's hope that doesn't happen, but they have something that they can move forward, or maybe share this with someone who has had a tragic event to help them move forward and thrive. So thank you again for your time and, having this conversation with me.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, Noelle. It's been a pleasure. And I hope that there's some great takeaways for those who are listening. And, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and life is quite beautiful. So everyone should just grab life and enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. So for those of you watching, I'd love to hear from you. Head over to noellebloom.com and leave a comment. Let us know, what's your single biggest insight that you're taking away from this conversation? Have you ever had a tragic event or something that's just knocked you completely to the floor? And if so, how did you get back up and move forward to thrive? How did you navigate those changes? And if you like this video, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching. As you're out there making a difference in the world, remember to have fun, live free, and feel fabulous. I'll see you next time on Bloom TV. Bye. Are you on the VIP list? If not, you're missing out. Head to noellebloom.com now and sign up to get free exclusive content to help you create a business and live fabulous.